Hello everybody, welcome back to Sophisticakes by Mary. I don't know about you, but I can't seem to get enough of these geode cakes. I hope you enjoy them as much as I do, because here we go again. This time I wanted to do a white agate inspired geode cake. And of course, if you know me, you know I need to incorporate some gold and some fried rice paper. So let's get started with the decorating of the cake. And how we're going to do that is we got to go ahead and put it together first now, don't we? So I'm going to show you how I filled and frosted one layer of cake. There are 3 layers in total, as you could tell. But you don't need to see me do this 3 times because I did the exact same thing with all 3 cakes. I did a 4-inch, a 6-inch, and an 8-inch cake on this design. It is a little smaller than my normal, but sometimes it's fun to go a little bit more small. And I am just filling and frosting with my American buttercream, which I will leave a link to the recipe, hopefully in an iCard if I remember, but definitely in the description box of this video. If I sound a little funny, I apologize. I am fighting a head cold. Yay me. Why not? With everything else, let's throw a head cold in there. Let's get it all done. So, like I said, we're going to do this to all 3 layers. And once I get the crumb coat, all 3 tiers. And once we get the crumb coat on, we will place it in the freezer while we move on to our next tier, which typically takes about 15 to 20 minutes. And it's just enough time to have the previous tier get set up so you can do the next step. Now we're going to go in with our final coat of buttercream. This coat will be thicker than your crumb coat. The crumb coat just needs to be thick enough just to lock in those crumbs. Seeing through it is not a problem, and actually that's what we typically do. This final layer of buttercream is what's going to make it so that you can't see through to the cake. And just get that top as level as you can. There are little helpful hints on other ways to do that if you don't want to do it by eye. But that just comes with practice. Now this is my fried rice paper. All I am using is a clear oil. Get it up to a medium high and just place your rice paper in there and magic happens. It's amazing. Just after you pull them out, don't use your fingers, use another tool. Tongs, preferably, I didn't have them. Put them on your paper towel for them to dry and cool. Now I'm just making isomalt as is directed on the back of the packet. And getting it up to temperature, I like to use that thermometer there, or the infrared thermometer. It definitely helps. And then I pour it directly into our silicone molds for our rocks. And you will notice that the isomalt is a little yellow. What happens is when I do this at home, and I use my normal tap water here at home, they turn out clear. When I do it at work, they turn yellow. It has to do with the minerals or something in the water. And typically I would use distilled water, but since I'm going to be painting these gold, it didn't matter. It did not matter at all that these turned out yellow. So I didn't even worry about it this time. And I set them in the freezer for maybe 5-10 minutes to firm up. No longer than that, because you don't want them to discolor. Or not discolor, they get really cloudy. That's why you can set them up in the refrigerator, but don't put them in the refrigerator to store them. Airtight, room temperature for isomalt decorations. And I'm just using gold luster dust just in my fluffy brush just to dust some gold on some of the fried rice paper. It's not going to be a shiny metal, because the only way to do that is to add liquid to it. And you add liquid to this product here, these fried rice papers, they're going to disintegrate. So just don't do it. We can have the shiny gold at a different place on this cake. And now I have my chilled cakes. I had placed them in the freezer for about 10 minutes. And I'm putting in my straws and then cutting them all to the height of the cake. I just pull them up a little bit, or mark it with my scissors, kind of clamp down on them, pull it up with my fingers, and then cut it off right at that point. And then put a little buttercream to get your next tier on top, to get it to stick on top. And then we'll do the same thing with the next tier. You will notice sometimes I measure them separately, and sometimes I just do it this way. It kind of depends on the height of the cake, the size of the tiers, and my mood that day. I could do it either way, but to be safe, you probably will want to just measure one, pull it out, and then cut your other straws to the same height as that, just to make sure that your tiers aren't lopsided. And then I set it back in the refrigerator this time for about 20 minutes to firm up, or just to make sure everything was glued together. And I'm just using my knife to mark out where I want this geode to be, or the agate, whatever you want to call it. I kind of like the agate, the white agate. That just sounds more special, different. So let's call it white agate. And you'll see that I am not messing with the board in between these bottom two tiers, because I am going to use that as kind of a ledge to attach the rock to. The crystals, whatever you want to call those, just to give a little bit more support. So just coat the inside of your cut section with some buttercream, and try to make sure that you get all of those crumbs covered to where you can't really see them, because it's you can kind of see them even through the rock candy. If it's not a painted section, if they're just left clear, you can kind of see those. So try to make sure that you get all of that covered. Now the candy, the crystals are going to stick right to that buttercream. Using that cardboard from the board, leaving that there and not cutting it out definitely helped, since the weight of the crystals were going to be on that section right there. And just kind of line them up how you want them. Just see how they look. You can take them out and move them around if you need to. That's okay. And once I got those in, I'm going in with some clear rock candy that I had just purchased at the store. I did not make this. You know, shortcuts are there for a reason, to be used sometimes. And I'm going to place them all the way throughout the rest of the cutout section. And here's a little close-up of me just putting on some finishing touches there. And then I wanted to make this a little different by adding some sugar crystals too. You know, like just the Wilton clear sugar crystals. And I'm attaching those with a little bit of piping gel that I'm just brushing on. And then I just use my finger to dip it in water, and then I dip it in the crystals. And that way, that's how I transfer the crystals onto the cake on the side. That can be a little difficult sometimes. Sometimes you just use the throw, and if it sticks, it stays kind of situation. But in this type of design, that wouldn't work because I needed them to be in a specific spot. So yeah, dipping your finger in water and then in the crystals helps to transport them onto the cake. This design was also kind of inspired by the resin acrylic art canvases that you see the not the fault lines, but they have the crystals on them. I've done one similar to that without the 3D effect so much. Prior, when I was doing the acrylic art series that I did. And yeah, I still like that look, and I did it in a different version on more of a tiered cake. And then I'm just using my edible gold, which is gold luster dust mixed with Everclear. You can mix it with vodka. You can mix it with lemon extract. There are some other products out there that you can use that are kind of hard to find in the United States. So that's why I stick with the Everclear. And you can kind of get away with one coat. And what happens is that alcohol evaporates out and you're just left with the gold. So nobody's eating any alcohol. It's completely gone. And I wanted to center that in the middle. I thought that was a really wow effect. And then I'm just using a fan brush. No, not yet. Hold on. I'm jumping the gun there. This is just a regular painting brush. And I'm kind of edging out the line. This is where you'll see that it's kind of like the resin art with the different veins of gold. I didn't do a whole lot. I thought about it. I thought I'd maybe add some color in with it also, some lines of colors, but I kind of like that white agate simple look for this cake. So I just went with that. White and gold. And here's where I'm using that fan brush to get a fine, uneven type of line. Just holding it on the edge. And I'm attaching the rice paper puffs with just a little bit of buttercream. Sometimes you'll need to stick a little toothpick in behind it while that buttercream firms up to keep it in place. That's fine too, as long as you take it out when it's firmed up. And there it is, all done. I hope you guys enjoyed it, as always. And if you would take a minute, I don't ask this often, but I'm going to this time, take a minute to subscribe. If you're watching my videos, subscribe, like, and share it. I really appreciate it, more than you know. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to check out my other social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.